Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a bit of a sensitive topic, and we are going to be talking today about alcohol, and it's kind of going to be a bit of a chat with me, and I'm going to tell you my experience of being 3 years sober and cutting out alcohol complete cold turkey in my life and then reintroducing it back into my life this year. So when I cut out alcohol, I was between 22 to 23 years old, and currently I am 26 years old. So between the time period of 22, 23 to like 25, I guess, early 26, 25, I actually cut out alcohol completely out of my life and stopped drinking. I stopped drinking at like social events, social settings, dinners, everything. And in no way am I saying that I was any type of like alcoholic or a big drinker, but I did like to have my drinks when I would go out to eat, when I would go to parties, and in college I was a pretty big drinker, and I enjoyed drinking, and I enjoyed the feeling that it gave me. So cutting it out was kind of major in my life. And the reason that I cut out alcohol was because of a health reason, and I just decided that that was like what was going to be best for me. So I know that some people tend to cut out alcohol slowly, but I actually decided to go cold turkey on it. And I read an article that said that if you pick up a habit and you do it for 3 weeks, then it kind of like becomes a norm for you. And I cut out alcohol in what happened to be like around out of nowhere, and it just became normal for me. I didn't have a want to drink, I didn't have a need to drink alcohol, and there was like nothing missing in my life in terms of like needing to drink, wanting to drink on the weekends, getting a drink with my dinner. So it just became completely normal for me. And to be completely honest, I'm not really quite sure why I even reintroduced alcohol back into my life. Like I mentioned, there was no want or need for it, but I went ahead and reintroduced it back into my life and started drinking again in social settings, events, going out with friends, going out to dinner. I started drinking again, and I feel like I have this perspective, at least my own perspective based on my own experiences, about how it is to be completely and utterly sober, like not 1 ounce of alcohol in your body during these 3 years, and then out of nowhere like drinking again and reintroducing it back into your body, into your system, how exactly it makes you feel, and if it's really even worth you know, kind of like even putting it back. I normally struggle with thoughts of like what ifs, like why did I introduce it back, was it worth it? In certain moments I'm definitely like, it's so much fun, but also like, you know, it's just like I'll mention later on in the video, it's kind of like a temporary void and a temporary kind of like high that we are trying to reach and trying to fill in our lives. So if you're interested in this video, definitely keep watching. And like I mentioned, there is absolutely no type of like judgment or negativity that I'm trying to like say in this video. I'm not judging anyone. I'm not you know, being judgmental or trying to like confuse anyone. I'm just simply sharing my own opinion and my own experience with you know, reintroducing alcohol and being sober, and how I feel that it has affected me or in my life. So if you're interested, definitely keep watching. Thank you to all of my subscribers who watch and like all of my videos, and if you're new here, make sure that you subscribe down below. I am a very friendly and normally like outgoing person, but I think that when I had alcohol in my system, I definitely became a lot funnier, a lot more funner, a lot more approachable to certain people, and just a lot more outgoing. So maybe I kind of like liked the feeling that alcohol went ahead and gave me. I liked that temporary new me and like satisfaction, and I was like stress-free and I was happy. So I was definitely like kind of like chasing a lot of things when I was, you know, drinking alcohol. I thought that it was like cool, that I was a lot of fun posting all these like pictures of drinks of me drinking, and I think like we're just meant to believe that like alcohol is it should be fun, that it's meant for like partying, that it's meant for a good time, and that it's definitely like needed for a fun time, a good time when we're out with people. But in reality, it's not something that you need, and if it's something that you want to live without, you definitely can go ahead and live without. I know Chrissy Teigen is on like a sober path now, and it's definitely becoming a lot more normalized to be sober or to do a period in your life where you are sober. And I definitely think that everyone, if they're willing, should be should go ahead and do like a month, 2 months, I don't know, whatever time period is comfortable for you without alcohol, because I think that you can find out a lot about yourself during that time. You can find out a lot of like voids that you have in your life that you're trying to fill, and you can find out a lot about your wants, your needs, and just like everything in general. I think it's a very good time to take and to kind of like understand and really kind of like find yourself, because I think that a lot of times we use alcohol to find temporary highs and to fill a void that we're looking for in our lives. Alcohol, like I mentioned, makes you a cool person. It makes you funner. It makes you funnier. It makes you hotter. It makes you more approachable. So alcohol makes you a lot of things. And what are we really searching for? What do we really get out of it? And at the end of the day, when it's the next day and you're either hungover or you're groggy or the alcohol is gone, you know, you're still that same person. You can look in the mirror and you're still going to be the same person with or without alcohol. So all that we're looking for is a kind of like temporary satisfaction. And during the 3 years that I wasn't drinking, that I was like completely sober, I think it was like kind of like the most mentally and physically like healthiest that I was in my life. And I don't say that like to brag. I don't say that as as an, oh, look at me, I didn't have any alcohol in my system. No, I think that like mentally I was so aware, and that's like a good and bad thing. I think that you definitely have to be very strong to be very aware. But during that time that I was completely sober, if I was sad, if I was stressed out, if something was going on in my life, I wasn't masking it with alcohol. I wasn't masking it with anything. I was kind of dealing with it head on. And sometimes like after you have a stressful day or you're sad or something happens, you kind of like, hey, I'm gonna like go drink something. I'm gonna go get a nice drink, or I can't wait until the weekend to like let loose and forget about this week. Certain things like that. But when you're not drinking, you kind of deal with these things head on. And you know, you might work out, you might journal, you might paint, you might go for a run, certain things that are easier said and done. But you're kind of like, I feel like, forced to deal with these problems head on. And I mean, you can definitely still deal with your problems while drinking, but I feel like it's kind of like a band-aid. And when that band-aid rips, you know, you're at the end of the day still forced to deal with it head on. But when I was completely sober, I feel like I was the most aware that I've ever been in my life, because I was completely dealing with all these things head on. And I wasn't drinking to feel more confident. I wasn't drinking to be funner. I wasn't drinking to be cooler, and I wasn't drinking for like other reasons. So I definitely was just myself. And I feel like during the time period that I was sober, there was a lot of negative backlash, and a lot of people definitely had their things to say about me. I know that some people thought that I was better than them because I wasn't drinking. Some people thought that I was, you know, not drinking for attention. And I think that it should be more normalized. Some people just don't want to drink alcohol. You know, you might go to a party and have a soda bottle, a water bottle, I don't know, some type of drink that's not alcohol, and that should be okay. They shouldn't be judged. You know, everyone should just kind of like respect their own opinions. You know, we're not trying to be cooler than you. We're still fun. We're still trying to like socialize and be at these events. We just don't want to drink, and everyone has their reason for not drinking. At that moment, mine were, you know, like health related. You know, alcohol would kind of like make me sick, and it kind of like worsened certain things for me. So I wasn't drinking at all. And I feel like you know, when you're in your 20s, alcohol is just such a big thing where everyone is drinking. So I think it was definitely something that faced a lot of negative backlash, and I feel that people would have been, and I wish that people would have been a lot more understanding about it. For me, when I was doing this, I felt a lot of negative backlash, a lot of negative peers that just didn't agree with what I was doing, a lot of judgment, and that's really hard. And I got to the point where I would go out with my boyfriend and some friends, and sometimes I would just hold a drink with me just so like everyone would back off. Would I drink the drink? No. I would eventually give it to him, but I wouldn't drink the alcohol, but I would hold on to it. Or I would go out to dinner and I would take a photo of like someone else's drink so people would know that I'm still drinking, that I'm normal. And in a way, it wasn't unnormal what I was doing. I was still normal. Drinking alcohol doesn't make you cool. It doesn't make you normal. It doesn't make you unnormal. So there was a lot of negative peer backlash and negative judgment. And now that I think about it, to be honest, I hope that it's something that people can start to understand. And you shouldn't have to use an excuse as to why you're not drinking. When I would go to certain events, people would be like, but why aren't you drinking? But just drink one thing. What's the big deal? And honestly, I would have to come up with these crazy excuses in my head. And now that I think about it, I stopped drinking for a medical reason. And then eventually I just didn't like the taste of it. I just didn't have the need to drink or the want to drink alcohol. But I would have to, I mean, I'm not going to tell everyone like all the medical issues that I had going on and why I stopped drinking and why it was benefiting me, because we're not on that level. So I would have to like give these excuses and it just became a lot. When in reality, I could have just been, if they were understanding people, hey, I'm not in the mood to drink and I just don't want to drink. But there was a lot of negative backlash, and I was young, and I feel that during those times, all those things just kind of like build up, and I thought I was uncool for not drinking, and I thought that people were judging me, which they were. But now that I think about it, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you go home to yourself, and it's not, at the end of the day, like what people think about you, whatever you're doing, whatever new lifestyle you're doing, or something that you're doing for your own health, it only matters to you. And at that moment, we just have to build, I guess, like thicker skin and not let people's opinions or what they think about us make us feel any different or make us feel bad for our judgment or make us feel bad for what we're doing, because at the end of the day, we have to live with it, not them. So definitely now, if I'm not in the mood to drink, I'm not scared of anyone saying something about me or judging me. But back then it was a little bit hard just because everyone around me was consuming alcohol, and I did receive a lot of negative backlash and negative commentary when I would tell people that I'm not drinking, so much that I was taking photos of alcohol, making it seem like I was still fun and drinking. And I was also carrying a drink around me even though I wouldn't even touch it, so people just wouldn't say anything to me, which now that I think about it is just not right. Like, people should just be understanding, especially friends and those around you, when you just don't want to drink alcohol or when you're trying something new. In these 3 years that I was completely sober, I started to think to myself, why is it that we're drinking? And when I used to drink alcohol, what was it that kind of attracted it to me? And when I think about it, I think it's like that buzz that it gives you, and you kind of become fearless and you kind of become a new type of version of yourself where you can kind of achieve anything. You're fun, you're living in the moment, and sometimes you have one drink and it gives you a little bit of a buzz, and then you want to drink another drink and another, and you're kind of chasing this fake high, and that's a little bit dangerous when I think about it. I mean, in the moment, it's a lot of fun. We're young, we're living life, but the next day we wake up feeling like crap. We have a day wasted. It's a beautiful Sunday morning, and you can't even like make breakfast because your head hurts or you're throwing up from something crazy. And kudos to you if you can handle your alcohol and control your drinks. But when I used to drink, I used to drink like a lot, and then the next day I would wake up and then like the whole entire day was wasted. So to me, like, the fact that I was able to like wake up every single day those 3 years with like no hangover and work out and do everything that I wanted to do, and I wouldn't wake up with a hangover and my head wouldn't hurt, and I was saving money, that was really great to me, and that was a lot of fun for me as well, even though it probably doesn't sound fun. But I'm not judging you if you are drinking, if you like to do those things. I'm just telling you my experience, and both of my experiences, because I did drink and then I completely went sober. This year I decided to go ahead and reintroduce alcohol back into my life as kind of a casually and social drinker, and just like in certain settings. So when I do go out to certain events, I will have one drink. The drink I normally drink is like a Moscow Mule when I'm out at dinner, or I'll have a mojito. And then when I'm in like a group setting, I normally drink like a high noon. And I find that like the high noons don't really tend to give me a hangover, and they don't really give me any type of headaches. They don't really trigger my migraines. So it is something that I found this year that I do pick when I'm going out. And just to kind of elaborate a little bit on reintroducing alcohol back into my life after 3 years, it was a complete and utter shock. And I laugh about it because it's something that I'm still kind of like navigating. I had no want or need for alcohol during the years that I was completely 100% sober. And right now, ever since I reintroduced alcohol, I'm not going to lie, I feel like sometimes after work, I'm like, wow, I could really use a cold drink, or I could definitely go for a drink right now. Or sometimes during the week, I'll be like, wow, like I can't wait till the weekend to like go out and get a couple of drinks in. And like I mentioned, there's nothing wrong with like after a stressful day or week, you know, wanting to like wind down and maybe getting a couple of drinks. But also it kind of just makes me realize when I was stressed out during those like sober years, what was I doing? I was like working out, I would like go to the gym, I would, I don't know, like just go out to dinner and just like not want or need or crave like that alcohol. And it's not like that you're craving alcohol. I've realized, I think you're craving like that feeling, because when you're drinking and you introduce alcohol into your body, now that I've, you know, reintroduced it back into my life, I feel like it kind of like relaxes you. And, you know, when you're out at dinner and you get a few drinks in you, you're kind of like very zen, and you just feel kind of like good about yourself and good about everything. So if you were worried about like a deadline or a certain project, or I don't know, just anything going on in your life, thinking about, hey, I'm gonna get a couple of drinks in, or I'm gonna get a couple of drinks in this weekend, it kind of makes you feel better. And then once you have it in you, normally I'll be like, oh, I'll stop at one drink, but then I'll get one drink and then I don't know, I kind of like feel good, and then I want another drink, and then that turns into another, and then you kind of just keep going. So I think a lot of it is like having self-control and limits, if that's like something that you want to do. Everyone obviously deserves to have like a great night out. If that's what you want to do and like let loose, then definitely go ahead. But I think that as someone who, you know, was completely sober for 3 years, after I reintroduced it this year, it definitely is a lot harder to go ahead and say no. Now that I know that alcohol isn't really like an issue in my health anymore, you know, I went ahead and like just willingly like started drinking again. So it definitely is something that I reintroduced and have my like ifs about. Sometimes I think, what if I never introduced it back into my life? Ever since I introduced it too, I did gain a few pounds, and honestly, like I don't really know, because normally I tend to drink like those seltzers. So, I mean, I know that they're technically supposed to be a little bit healthier as well, but it's still something new to me from what I went to. I mean, I didn't even get drinks at all. I used to carry around like a water bottle with me, or like a fake drink. And now I am actually drinking. And sometimes like after drinking, you wake up the next day, at least I have, and then you're like, what did I say? Or what did I say last night? What did I do last night? And I don't know, that's like something that I miss. Like, even though I used to be like the boring one at these like social events, I kind of miss going the next day and like knowing exactly what happened, instead of like sometimes I'll be like, what did I say last night, or what did I do? But like I said, it's all about like limits and controlling like what you take, and obviously like that's something that like, you know, a lot of people can go ahead and do. But I definitely think that if you're on a journey to, you know, self-heal or self-love, or you just want to go ahead and take away alcohol, whether it's like is it like dry December or something, I don't know, but I know that some people were saying it's so hard to go without alcohol for a month or 2 months. And during that time that I was completely sober, I was like, how is it hard? Like, I've been sober for so long, there's no need or want, like I don't. And now that I reintroduced it back into my life, I could definitely see why people say that, and why people are like, wow, like how I can't not stop drinking. I think if you have a stressful job, if you're in a stressful environment, if you have any type of like stressful factors in your life, a lot of people normally tend to go and drink, or they have some other outlet. And maybe and this is something that I've also considered doing, maybe it's about finding a healthier outlet that you can go ahead and unleash it, whether it's like I don't know, like working out, or like painting, or something else. And I know it's easier said than done, because sometimes it's like way easier after like a stressful day, or just like on the weekends when you're trying to let loose and have fun, to drink a drink instead of like making like celery juice and going on the treadmill. So maybe that's like easier said than done. But now that I think about it, I think that it's actually pretty cool that I went ahead and stayed sober for so long and had no need or want to go ahead and introduce it into my life. And then this year I decided to reintroduce alcohol back into my life in a casual and social way. And then I'm kind of like in this dilemma where, like I mentioned, it's like, what if I never reintroduced it back into my life? What if I still remained sober and I would have been like around like 4 years sober, and there was like no need or want to introduce alcohol? And now that it's back in my life, I feel like it's kind of like a bad friend. I feel like sometimes it's fun for on the weekends, it's fun for social settings, when I'm going out with friends, when I'm going out to dinner, but also I feel like I do have like my regrets. I mean, alcohol is pricey, first of all. Getting like a pack of like High Noons is around like 20 something. I mean, it's like little things that add up, because sometimes like you won't buy yourself like a shirt because it's like, oh, like it's 20, I don't want to spend money on it. And then like you'll go and you'll buy a pack of like alcohol, or you'll go out with your friends for dinner or for drinks and you'll spend like $20 on a drink. And I normally see it as like, hey, like that could have been saved up for something else. And I also see it as, hey, it's like something that's gonna like at the end of the day like give you a headache. Like at the end of the day, I feel like alcohol is something, it's like a temporary feel. And I think it's like back to my previous video where it's like the things I bought when I was sad. Sometimes people emotionally shop, where you buy a lot of things and at that moment it makes you feel good, and then once you get the items or you've had them for like a couple of days, like you want to buy something else because it doesn't really fill that void. So I think, in my opinion, alcohol is a void filler, and I feel like what it gives you is temporary happiness, temporary stress relief. What is it? Like, it's like an attention driver, basically. It's like something that is taking our attention away from something that we're hiding. And maybe if we heal ourselves, we don't really need it in our lives. I know that I can definitely speak for myself. Like I mentioned, I do not want this video to go the wrong way at all. I'm not meaning to judge anyone that casually drinks or drinks for fun. This is just literally my perspective and what I have gone through during these like past years and recent months. I personally think, hey, like I'm working a kind of like stressful job, and I like normally think to myself, like, you know, is that why I'm like normally drinking after? Is that why like I normally tend to want to drink? Or is it because I'm getting older? Because we normally think of alcohol as like sophistication. We think of it as a good time, fun. It can also be like a luxury when we get like nice bottles and we're like in a night out or something. So, I mean, it can be like attributed to many, many different things. But personally, like after reintroducing it into my life, I definitely think it's a void filler. I think that when we drink, we're filling a void in our lives that we haven't really healed. And I think that in a way, when we drink, sometimes, you know, we could have a limit in our heads. Hey, I'm going to drink just 1 drink or 2 drinks max. And then we like that like feeling that we get, because alcohol gives you, you know, any type of feeling that you want to feel. I think it gives you that feeling, confidence to go ahead and approach someone at a bar, the feeling of like complete zen and like forgetting about your work day or like work week. Or it could give you happiness if you have any type of like sadness, depression. It can do a lot of things. And then it's temporary, because you might feel really great in that moment, in that night, and then the next day you wake up and hey, you're back to your old self. It's kind of like Cinderella, like after midnight. And after we wake up, you're either gonna wake up really hungover, like, I don't know, like throwing up with like a headache, your day's wasted, groggy, or, you know, you're gonna wake up fine, and you're gonna wake up, but you're gonna wake up sad. I mean, at the end of the day, you're still the same self. So if we're drinking alcohol to be someone else, to be more confident, to be more happy, to be more stress-free, at the end of the day, after the alcohol is gone, you know, when it's like, after it's gone, like we're still the same us. So I think it's definitely on a path of healing and self-love. And I think during the time that I was completely sober, I definitely really was in a good place in my life, mentally and physically. And I think that I didn't really need alcohol, because I wasn't trying to fake happiness. I wasn't trying to fake anything, because I really didn't have like any type of void. And if I had a void in my life, I definitely was aware of it, and I definitely was journaling about it and trying to heal it and trying to find another type of mechanism where I could get it out instead of going back into alcohol. So to be honest, I think that in December, I am going to completely cut it out again. So I think I'm going to continue to like socially and casually drink. And then come December, like end of December after the holidays and January, I'm going to go completely dry again and kind of like redo it. And maybe I'll do an update on being sober, like, you know, it'll be like a month, 2 months, 3 months, and I'll see how long it goes, and I'll see what type of improvements and what type of better things like happen in my life after completely cutting it out again, because like I mentioned, I cut it out for 3 years and then I reintroduced it back this year, and then I'll be cutting it out again from my life come like December, January, which will definitely be interesting and fun to see how that goes and what exactly happens. So that is the end of this video. I want to give you guys a big thank you for staying and watching the whole thing. I know this is like a very sensitive topic to talk about, and like I mentioned, this is completely my version and my story. I don't want this to be any type of negative or judgmental type of like commentary towards anyone. I was just simply sharing my own opinion and my own experience with being sober and then reintroducing alcohol back into my life. And I hope that this video might have helped you in any way. Like I mentioned, it definitely is, I think like everyone should kind of take like a sober period in their life. I feel like it definitely is beneficial, and you learn a lot about yourself and what you really want in your life, especially as you get older. I feel like you could definitely learn a lot about yourself, your wants, your needs, and the voids or any voids you might have in your life by cutting out alcohol for a certain period in your time. So thank you so much for watching this video. Like I mentioned, if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you so much. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe down below. I'll see you guys for my next video. Bye.